Good evening, everyone. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the South Haven City Council. However, it is Tuesday, September the 8th, 2020. I hope everybody had a great holiday, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. First, we will begin with the roll call.
Jeff Arnold.
Here.
Chris Campbell.
Here.
Joe Reeser.
Here.
Steve Schlack.
Here.
George Sleeper.
Here.
Letitia Wilkins.
Here.
Scott Smith.
Here. That takes us to the approval of the agenda.
It's George Sleeper. I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Steve Slack, I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's roll call.
Arnold.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Reeser.
Yes.
Schlack.
Yes.
Sleeper.
Yes.
Wilkins.
Yes.
Yes. And we have on the phone Ms. Gail Patterson-Gladney, our County Commissioner, for an update, if we can patch her through.
Okay. Hello, Gail. You're on the call with the council. If you can go ahead with your update.
All right. Thank you, Kate. Hello, this is Gail Patterson-Gladney, Van Buren County Commissioner for District 1. And I just want to say I hope everyone had a good holiday. I just have some news from the county, a couple items from the county. First, the COVID-19 fund. Commissioners approved the application for First Responders Hazard Pay Program. And the program provides additional compensation of $1,000 per individual for performing hazardous work due to COVID-19. Each employer of first responders may apply for their employees, and September 30th, 2020 is the deadline for filing the application. Commissioners also approved the acceptance of coronavirus emergency supplemental funding for Van Buren County. Approximately $125,000 for Van Buren Court, $12,300 for the prosecutor's office, and approximately $128,000 for the Van Buren County Sheriff's Office. And then the last item I would like to share with you has to do with the United Way. They have a program for Southwest Michigan to take a 21-day equity challenge. And in their literature, it says, commit to change, understand, and confront racism from September 8th through the 28th. And they have a website that you can go to. That website is UWSM, that stands for United Way of Southwest Michigan, .org. Because it started today, the link is no longer active. If anyone wants to participate, they have to call the United Way telephone number, and that's 269-982-1700. Each day for the 21 days, an email is sent out to the participants, and it helps with learning history and how the impacts of racism have affected Southwest Michigan. And the material says that while inspiring participants with resources and tools to build racial equity in their work and lives. After the program ends, there's a chance for people to come together. Most likely through Zoom meeting, but to come together to discuss what they learned and how this 21-day equity challenge has changed people's lives. So it's, again, that website is uwsm.org. And if you have any questions, I can try to answer those, but that's the last item that I have for tonight.
Very good. Thanks, Gail. You stole my thunder. I already signed up, so I'll remind folks again later.
Okay.
So that's good.
Oh, I didn't know you needed to do that. Yes.
No, that's
okay.
good. But you got 269-982-1700. Did I get that right?
Yes. 982-1700. Yeah.
All right. I'll remind folks. We'll have to compare notes. So I appreciate you calling in, and we'll cue that up twice tonight.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Gail.
Goodbye.
That takes us to the consent agenda, items A through F.
This is Jeff Arnold. I'll approve the consent agenda. Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
George Sleeper, second.
Right, motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper. Yes. Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. That takes us to old business, and the first item is City Council will be asked to consider the following actions related to a text amendment to Article 6, Section 601.16 of the zoning ordinance. And we're going to start by hosting a public hearing on the proposed text amendment. And just as a reminder to dial in, it's going to be the same for all of our, anything on a public, we're looking for public input. It is 637-0777. Again, 637-0777. So first, I just need a motion to open the public hearing, and then we'll get some information.
Letitia Wilkins, I make a motion that we open up the public hearing.
This is Joe Reeser. I'll second it.
Very good. Motion and a second to open the public hearing. Let's roll call.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper. Yes. Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. All right, Kate, fill us in.
Sure. So council members, this is this ordinance is coming back to you. We had the introduction at our last meeting on August 17th. There was some feedback coming back from the council as well as some of the public saying with concerns about changing both sections relating to down residential use in the central business district. Taking that information, we then modified the text amendment to just maintain the changes to 601.16, which currently allows the use of one or more residences above a permitted use in the central business district. But right now, it has to be a special land use. The text amendment does strike out the special land use language, as well as remove the conditions for approval. And we have restored 601.20, which is multifamilies in the central business district. We've returned that to the original language. This has been vetted again by both the RRC. We wanted to make sure that this change would conform to their needs for us to be certified in the redevelopment ready community program, as well as the Planning Commission reviewed this language, the language changes and the text amendments at their September 3rd meeting. So this has been vetted by, again, the Planning Commission, which is a requirement of our ordinance. And so what's before you is actually just a text amendment for 601.16.
Very good. Thank you. All right. So this is the public section. So again, that number was 637-0777. Do we have any phone calls?
No callers at this time.
Okay. Very good. I think we've had ample time to do that. So let's go ahead and have a motion to close the public hearing.
Patricia
Joe
Wilkins,
Reese.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Joe Reeser, I'll second it.
All right, motion a second to close the public hearing. Roll call, please.
Swack,
Try again. Yeah.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper. Yes. Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Yes. So that takes us now to the council's consideration to approve the set of text amendments to section 601.16 of the zoning ordinance as just discussed. Oh, no, we're not doing that now. But, yeah, we are. Good, good. Sorry. I got a comment on closed public hearing below here. Sorry. All right, so let's go ahead and do that one. Just need a motion.
This is George Sleeper. I make a motion to approve the set of text amendment to section 601.16 of the zoning ordinance.
Steve Slack, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Kate's already explained it. Council, comments, questions? I think it's pretty straight ahead was what we were asking for, so I see none. Roll call.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. Next item. City Council will be asked to consider the following actions regarding a draft mural policy and request for murals on city streets. First, item A was to review a draft mural policy for city property. Next, review the staff memorandum on murals in traffic lanes. And finally, a request that Planning Commission and Parks Commission would review and make recommendations on this proposed policy, which we have before us, and make recommendations. So that's where we start. You want to break this one up? Why don't we start with maybe, Kate, why don't you explain what we got in front of us, and then we can discuss how we want to break this up.
Sure. So at our last meeting, we were, the city council was submitted, a proposal was submitted for a Black Lives Matter proposal for a mural on a city street. Right in front of here, in front of City Hall, there was a proposal for the westbound travel lane to have the words Black Lives Matter painted on. So that was a mural request that was submitted to the commission here. And what I did take away was a number of things, but I definitely got the impression that we needed to have a mural policy, that we have had one mural already submitted and painted at Kids Corner Park, and that went through the Parks Commission. However, there seems to be more desire to paint or put murals on city property. And so we came up with a mural policy, a very rough draft, so this would not be submitted to the council for final approval tonight. There does need to be more fleshing out, clearing up of the language, and getting more input from the public and the boards that would be participating in this review process. Some of the things that we came up with were, showing a rendering. Is there an application process, the mural design, getting input from obviously city boards, community input, and whether or not, does the material work, the workmanship, those kind of things. So this is the policy that we've put together very quickly, but would need many other input, would need more input to kind of finally flesh out. So that's for the mural policy, and I should clarify that this is just for public property. Murals on private property are subject to the zoning ordinance and would be under those regulations. So, and I should also clarify that this mural policy does not address or does not necessarily say that you can't paint roadways or sidewalks. I wanted Bill Hunter, who is our Public Works Director, to kind of go over that mural language as he's understanding from the Federal Highway and Transportation. Ultimately, I think council should think that maybe sending this on to the Planning and Parks Commission for further review and drafting and input, and whether or not council wishes to include murals on city streets or sidewalks as part of the mural, or if council doesn't want to consider that at all. So.
So why don't we, for the sake of, the biggest, I think before us tonight is to just have some discussion about this policy. We're not approving it tonight. You've had it in front of you to look at. Initial thoughts and suggestions. Regarding item B, I wouldn't mind spending a few minutes talking about that. I am not in favor of painting on our streets, have never been in favor of painting on our streets. So that's just something where I've had this come up before with other issues of painting on the streets. So that's just a question, as Kate mentioned, do we want these boards and commissions to consider murals on streets, or is that even something this council is wanting to consider? Are we interested in having them on walls, on streets? So just something to ponder as we're discussing this here for a few minutes. So why don't we just start, any council comments on the actual draft mural policy that sits in front of you? Joe.
A question. I have neither support nor any complaints about what's already been done. I think it's great staff put something together so quickly to address this. My question is similar to what George asked last week, or to last city council, was what are other cities doing about this? And I Googled last night, and I sent it to Kate minutes ago, what Kalamazoo is doing. Doesn't mean they're right or wrong, but it's nice to know what other cities are doing. And I do think our city and our attorney and maybe the Planning Commission and Parks should look at Kalamazoo and maybe other communities and see how they're handling this. It seemed like reading the article about Kalamazoo, it actually brought the community together because they had all different types of people painting the mural, and they had children even painting it. So it was a thing that brought the community together. And I just wonder, would our policies and procedures kind of reflect that? Or should we at minimum at least look at what other cities are doing, as George suggested last week, or last city council?
Any comments on anything else we've looked at, or,
Yes, this is just a rough draft on a mural policy that would be applied to every municipal building, not just the requests in the next agenda item. For the next agenda item, I too also called around to local communities and got various information from at least St. Joseph. I had a very good talk with their city manager, but I guess the city developing a mural policy doesn't necessarily mean thumbs up or thumbs down on the request from Ms. Crowley. Really, this is just a policy going forward that would be adopted so that the city would have the same policy, the same adopted policy for every request that came to the city. So I think this is just kind of setting a standard for what the city wants and getting lots of input from the public as well as elected and appointed officials on what that will look like.
Sounds good. All right, any other thoughts, comments?
Steve Slack. Just curious as to the mural on the Kids Corner Park now. Why did that not go in front of council to be voted on before?
That's a good question, Steve. My understanding is that this was approached via the Parks Commission. I'm not sure if there was an ongoing park improvement at the time. I know Bill Hunter's on the phone or on the line, could explain more. I do know that this went to the Parks Commission and was considered for a period of time because the first request was made, I think, in the fall or August of 2018. I would suggest, and I think that's why in the mural policy that is before the council, that we would want to have the city council to sign off on any mural that comes, any mural that would go on city property.
Which is why we need a policy.
Yeah. Did you want me to have Bill Hunter weigh in on the process from Parks Commission?
No, not necessary. I was just wondering how a mural got painted without the city council's authority. If it was brought in under the gift policy, maybe I thought we voted on city gifts as well. I'm just not sure what exactly happened there, that's all.
Okay. Yeah, which again, I guess it points to the fact that we do need a policy that's consistent that we could apply throughout the city. My only, just kind of quick thoughts were just to make sure it's clear who the reviewing body is based on the location. Is it always planning? Obviously, we all feel it's important that anything, if it's getting painted on a public structure, should come to city council. But are there specific reviewing bodies for each, depending on location? Maybe it's a park, maybe it's the harbor, maybe it's whatever.
Right. I think we were trying to rate that somewhat vaguely, that at least planning maybe parks if it was in a city park building, but of course we have facilities in the harbor that would be under the Harbor Commission's purview, possibly the DDA, possibly not. They don't really have a lot of buildings that they're under their purview, but different boards would weigh in on this. And then of course, ultimately the city council. And I think that was one thing that should have been done in the parks for the Kids Corner mural, but was not done. So I think that's why I think having a mural policy would probably make more sense. And just to kind of jump in here, I think we have 2 callers on the line, sir.
Oh, for the mural policy? Okay. Why don't we go ahead? Are there any other council comments before we take a call or 2? George, go ahead.
I think this is a good start, Kate. I like how it's going. I was a little confused because in paragraphs number 12 and 13, it does talk about property owners, and that confused me because I think it's if we're just talking about murals on city property, I would think that would just be basically the city instead of property owners. But I think it's a good start. I think it'll just get better as we go through the review process. And I agree with Mayor Smith about I'm not really in favor at all of murals on roadways.
Very good. All right. If nobody else, let's take a couple calls on this item. So again, same number, 637-0777. And let's listen in. Travis, you want to remind them about the 5 minutes, and then we're going to give them a 1-minute warning, and then it will be muted.
Hello, caller. You're on the line with the council. You have 5 minutes. Please state your name and your address, and you'll be given a 1-minute warning before the end of your 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. Hello. My name is Jack Hannigan. I live at 711 North Shore Drive. I'd just like to applaud the council. I listened to your comments, and I think you're on the right track. My opinion is that basically anything that's on city property that's representing the whole community and the tax base really needs to be approved by the council, and probably through a vote of some kind. We want to reflect what the community believes is accurate. I think when we get into things that can be divisive or of a political nature or even some other type of nature, we're going down the wrong path and we want to put that on public property. I think those things belong on private property or private display. That's appropriate. So I think those kinds of agendas belong in a private setting, not in a public setting. So those are my comments. I applaud what the direction that you're moving in. That seems to be makes sense to me. So thank you very much.
Very good, Jack. Thanks for calling in. Got one more, right? Or at least one more.
Hello, caller. You're on the line with the council. If you can state your name and your address, you'll have 5 minutes. We'll give you a 1-minute warning before your time is up. Go ahead. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Go ahead, caller. You've got 5 minutes. You're on with the council. Please state your name and your address. We'll give you a 1-minute warning before your time is up.
Oh, thanks. I don't think I'll take that much time. My name is Joe Meyer. I'm at 123 Superior Street. My wife and I relocated here from Portland, Oregon last fall. I go swimming 3 times a day. Well, Black Lives Matter was discussed at our Ward 1 Community Action Committee meeting the other week, and I didn't find anything to say at the time. I thought that maybe it wasn't. Oops. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
So, time to start?
Just,
Yep, keep
yeah,
going.
go ahead.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay. Let's see, where was I? Anyway, I didn't find anything to say at the time. I thought it was not a good time to stay quiet, and so I wrote this letter. I first want to say that Black Lives Matter. And by that, I mean that in today's United States of America, Black lives are generally undervalued. They're undervalued by racism from the individual level, through unequal law enforcement, and up to the system of justice. Black lives are undervalued today due to the continuing effects of explicitly racist laws and policies of yesterday. These are things that we, the government, did. Now, real estate redlining and Jim Crow are no longer laws of the land. Black lives are under renewed attack. And we see this in the news every day. In terms of what we can do in South Haven, I want to say that symbolism is important. My wife and I have an I Can't Breathe poster in our window, and our neighbor has a Black Lives Matter lawn sign. Just the other day, I was working in my yard when a family walked past, and I overheard the child ask, and this one says Black Lives Matter. Mommy, what does it mean? The family walked on. I didn't hear the answer. I did think it was a very good question. A prominent mural is important to publicly acknowledge the fact that humans in 2020 are still judged by the color of their skin. Symbolism is important to promote dialogue. Symbolism is important to remind everyone that they are welcome. Symbolism makes us search for an answer that a smart 10-year-old might believe. I advocate for a prominent Black Lives Matter mural right downtown. It's not time for South Haven to stifle.
Caller, I don't think we can hear you. Are you still there? Mr. Meyer, are you there?
We lost him. Just keep track of his time. Just
Yeah, we have
disconnected.
about 2 minutes left. It looks like he's gone.
Yep, let's disconnect. Anybody else on the phone?
Okay, we do have one more, if I can send him on up. Hello, caller, you're on the line with the council. If you can, state your name and your address. You have 5 minutes with the council. We'll give you a 1-minute warning before the end of your time. Go ahead.
Hello, this is Tasha Smith. Address is 1000 6th Avenue, South Haven. I'm third generation here, and I was calling in for support for the Black Lives Matter memorial. And I think that it would make a nice difference in our city to have something like that. We had a very good turnout for our Black Lives Matter protest in March. Turned out very well, and I think our city should have something like that. And I was just listening where that at Kids Corner, you guys had a mural done that had no approval, and now you guys are trying to put a plan on there. So I hope that it's not going to be bypassed on that. But that's all I basically had to say. But basically, we need to look within the residents of our city that are here, that have supported, the Black Lives Matter. When we had the march and everything, and it would be good for our city. It will show some good equality for one. Thank you.
Thank you for calling. Appreciate it.
And it looks like we have one more. It seems like people are getting both confused,
They
so
are.
I'll just keep taking
Yep,
the
that's
comment.
fine. Yep, well, joys of a televised meeting.
Hello, caller, you're on the line with the council. If you can, state your name and your address. You'll have 5 minutes. If you can, we'll give you a 1-minute warning before your 5 minutes is up. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Darlene Batten. My address is 1054 Center Street. I just want to say that I'm in agreement with the Black Lives Matter painting. I say, why not? It's a great idea. It's a small contribution for such a great cause. And that's it.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Hello, caller, you're on the line with the council. You have 5 minutes. If you can state your name and then your address, you'll be giving a 1-minute warning before your time runs out.
Okay, thank you. My name is Lisa Croupiers, and I live at 561 Indiana Avenue. I am speaking on behalf today of many South Haven citizens who support the Black Lives Matter movement currently taking place across the country. Now is the time to acknowledge the Black community who are a significant part of our South Haven population, many of whom have been South Haven residents longer than others of us who call South Haven home. The Black Lives Matter inspired and themed mural is something that is ready to go with the artists available to complete it. It is initiated by a local South Haven resident, and it's as South Haven inspired as we could want. Those who I speak on behalf of believe this mural should be done on a prominent wall in the downtown area. And just as a side note, it's my understanding that the Black Lives Matter themed murals in other cities across the country are being done on the pavement. So that's why that was the original presentation. But we think it should be done on a prominent wall in the downtown area where everyone who visits and enjoys South Haven can appreciate our fortune to be a diverse town. It's a start for demonstrating that we are an inclusive place who values our Black community. Many of us believe that a mural is simply not enough to recognize and acknowledge the lack of inclusion our Black community has suffered. If we would just begin by considering the approximately 20% South Haven population our Black residents compose, and use that as a guide for staffing city government, commissions, jobs in the schools, and all employment positions with the city and businesses. It's a beginning and an improvement for years of this not happening. There is so much to be done, and now is the time to start. And for those who counter Black Lives Matter with All Lives Matter, or Blue Lives Matter, or any other blank Lives Matter, here's what I have to say. Most lives have always mattered, but Black lives haven't mattered in the past, and they seem to not matter now. Anything that's put in place to promote equity is trumped, and I have no pun intended there, but it is trumped by another way to keep Black and brown people down. Just check our American history, as the second caller said. The business practices, cities and neighborhoods, prisons, it's very sad and frustrating. This is our opportunity to initiate change, and especially here at South Haven, to let our Black community know we appreciate them and value that they live here. We have an opportunity right here and now in our midst to put into action improvements for past wrongs and attempt to begin leveling the playing field. Let's not miss this chance to initiate permanent change for good. And I have one more thing if I still have time.
Yep, you have 2 minutes left.
Okay, thank you. I'm currently reading the book called A Place to Remember by B. Krause. And there are 3 books in this set that she wrote. The first book, A Time to Remember, is about the Jewish resort era here in South Haven. And A Place to Remember is about the history, South Haven history. And interestingly enough, I was reading from this book last night, and I read this short passage, which is really resonated with what I'm saying tonight. It's the section of the book is called Development is Denied. And it says here, when the efforts of a syndicate of Negro businessmen from Chicago and St. Louis were not allowed to purchase a resort property on the lake that they believed would bring more of their people into South Haven, the Negro community felt abandoned. In August of 1906, we learned that Reverend James E. Carruthers finally admitting that the parish couldn't prosper. This is about a parish they were trying to establish.
Caller, you've got about 45 seconds.
Okay, thank you. That finally admitting that the parish couldn't prosper, left South Haven for Dowagiac, believing that all of his work had been in vain. It is assumed by some that the interior of the church was never completed. And this is basically the trying to establish the AME, I believe it's called the African Methodist Episcopal Church that was originated. It was at where the Congregation Tap House currently is. And they were trying to establish a church community here. Okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate the call.
Looks like we have one more.
Okay.
Caller, you're on the line with the council. If you can state your name and your address, you'll be given 5 minutes. We'll give you a 1-minute warning before your time ends. Go ahead.
Hi, yes, I'm calling about complaints I'm calling about racism in South Haven.
Sure. Sir, what's your name and your address?
My name is David Taylor. My address is 68304 County Road 380.
Okay.
Make sure it's on the mural policy.
Go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
Yes, I've experienced racism here in South Haven. I've recently been accused of hitting someone in the face with a pistol, and I didn't. I was self-defending myself. I had the police around my house like I had just murdered someone, and come to find out that it was a mis-
Sir,
yes.
We're discussing mural policy right now. That's the item we're discussing. Yeah, so we're discussing a mural policy. Would you like to discuss that? I just want to make sure we're staying on task here. That's what we're currently discussing.
Mr. Taylor, we'll take your comment. Right now we're talking about the mural and the mural policy. So do you want to continue on with your comment? Mr. Taylor?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
For us as well, because we need to be represented as a person and as a whole. So I do duly agree for a mural, but however, I do believe the mural should be hung up.
Mr. Taylor, you're kind of coming in and out. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Yep.
Hello?
Can you hear us?
You're back.
Did you catch what I said?
A little bit. It said you were starting to go and then it cut out. So if you want to start over.
Yes, I was saying I do believe a mural is a good idea for us to represent who we are and to make a statement for who we are as a Black. But however, I do believe that the mural shouldn't be placed on the ground. I do believe that it should be like hung up somewhere, so like a mural type, so people won't destroy it as easily.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Very good. Anything else?
No, sir. No, ma'am. And I do appreciate you guys. And again, I do apologize for the misunderstanding.
Oh, no, we just want to make sure you knew what we were talking about. I didn't want to, like I said, want to make sure we're good. Very good. And we appreciate your calling in.
Thank you very much. You guys have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Okay, I think we have one more.
You said that 3 callers ago. No, I'm kidding. That's all right. Go ahead.
Hello, caller. You're on the line. If you can state your name and your address, you'll be given 5 minutes. We'll give you a 1-minute warning. Go ahead.
September Goodwin, 1012 Kalamazoo Street.
Okay. You've got 5 minutes, Ms. Goodwin.
Okay, I think the Black Lives Matter mural great first step for our city in bridging the gap of diversity. I think it will show visitors as well as hometowners that we stand together against injustice. I think if or when the city adopts this Black Lives Matter mural, that it makes an open statement to our community, and that type of statement, when we make that type of statement, that represents true growth. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you. Any other comments?
Yep. That is it.
Okay, thanks for
Thank
your
you.
call.
It looks like we have 4 more callers for Black Lives Matter. If it pleases the council, we might want to consider whether or not what we're doing with item 7, then moving on to item 8, where we are talking about the BLM mural.
I would tend to agree. So those are specific to the next item?
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah, why don't we go ahead then and let's hold those for the next item. So at this point in time, really, I think we just need to, if there's no other comments on the draft mural policy, are there any other questions or comments on item B, which is a staff memorandum on murals and traffic lanes? Everyone pretty clear on that staff recommendation? Everyone get that, read through it? And I would agree. I've kind of agreed with that for a decade plus now. So that doesn't just change with this issue. I've always been of the belief we should not be marking and creating distractions on our streets. So really then the next question is, would there be a motion that would have the Planning Commission, Parks Commission review and make recommendations on the proposed mural policy before we do anything else? That's what we're looking for right now, is that motion. And it's quiet. No interest at this time?
This is George Sleeper. I make a motion that we request the Planning Commission and Parks Commission review and make comments and recommendations on the proposed mural policy.
This is Jeff Arnold. I'll second.
Okay, so motion is second to have planning and parks review and make recommendations on the mural policy as well as murals in traffic lanes. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, why don't we go ahead and let's do a roll call.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so we will send it off to them for review. That's helpful.
Okay.
So item 8, the City Council will be asked to consider the following mural proposals for Miss Monique Crowley. So there were 2, and we had the item A came for, and we held off on it last time, the Black Lives Matter mural to be painted on the westbound traffic lane on Phoenix Street in front of City Hall. I'm just going to read them both. Second one was an artistic memorial tribute mural to be painted on Elkenberg Park restroom/storage building. And we can have some discussion, and based on the item we just voted on, if there's an interest to table these 2 items until we get feedback, we can have that as well. So I'm just throwing that out to the group. So do we want to have some public comment first for the group?
Looks like we have 3 callers, so if we want to hear them, I'm not sure if any council comments.
Why don't
first,
we go ahead and hear the comments, and then we can have some discussion as council as far as if we want to vote these up or down, or if there's a thought, if someone wants to up or down, that's fine, or if we want to let Parks Commission have a shot at them. So why don't we take the calls?
Hello, caller, you're on the line with the council. You'll have 5 minutes. If you can state your name and your address, we'll give you a 1-minute warning before your time is up.
Yes, my name is Deborah Paul. My address is 871 Indiana Avenue here in South Haven. I'm just calling to support the Black Matter mural that's being painted, downtown. I think that's a good step in the right direction for the city to show the lives, that Black lives do matter. So that's just all I wanted to say, that I support the mule.
Very good.
Okay,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll just send up the next caller, Phil. Hello, caller, you're on with the council. If you can state your name and your address, you'll have 5 minutes to address them, and we'll give you a 1-minute warning before your time is up. Go
You
ahead.
ready for me to state my name and address now?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
ma'am.
Erica Driver, 418 Abel Street, South Haven, Michigan, 49090.
Okay, thank you. You can go ahead with your comment.
You're welcome. It's a yay towards the Black Lives Matter mural.
Okay. Did you have there's 2 mural proposals. One is for the city street and the other one is for Elkenberg Park building. Did you have any comments on either one of those specific proposals?
A comment, yeah, definitely. I would prefer that for it to make a difference in our city, that it would be in a more area that would be seen by more people. So Elkenberg Park would be a good idea, but I would prefer it to be the other location.
Okay.
Because the majority of the people that live on Elkenberg, they are Black and they know that Black Lives Matter. We're trying to reach the people that may not, know what's going on when it comes to us trying to reach the world about this. So the placement of it would be very important. And having it on a pretty much predominantly Black street would kind of defeat the purpose.
Okay. Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll send up the next caller. Hello, caller, you're on the line with the City Council. If you can state your name and your address, you'll have 5 minutes to speak. We'll give you a 1-minute warning before your time is up.
Okay. My name is Mickey Paul, and my address is 871 Indiana Avenue. And I'm calling, the reason why I'm calling is to about the mural and to support it. And I agree 100% that y'all, support that. And y'all, and you're going in the right direction. And I really appreciate what you're doing, each and every one of you. And that's all I have to say.
All right, thank
Very
you,
good.
Mr. Paul.
Thanks for the call.
Yep, you're welcome. Goodbye.
Okay. Let's see if there's any more callers. Any callers? Hello, caller, you're on the line with the council. You'll have 5 minutes. If you can state your name and your address, we'll give you a 1-minute warning before your time is up.
Thank you. My name is Joe Wilkins. My address is 811 Indiana Street. To the council, again, what we have witnessed in our country over the past couple of weeks should reinforce how important it is that the governing officials and residents of South Haven understand the urgency of hearing the voices of all those that are crying out for change. It's important that the city council, as well as my white brothers and sisters, recognize that Blacks can push for change, but Blacks aren't in a position to make change. Nevertheless, watching what is being played out on the stages of our history is very grievous to me as a Black parent and should be troubling to all. Here lately as a parent, what worries or saddens me the most in raising a Black son who is in the last year of college is not whether or not he can figure out a science problem or figure out an engineering concept, but whether or not he knows that being Black in this America is a tax debt that he'll have to pay on the rest of his life, a debt which is so often rooted in systemic racism, inequality, injustice, and hatred, which in my opinion has led to the killings of Black young men and women in our city streets and public parks, or simply watching TV or sleeping in their own beds. As a parent, imagine being forced to talk to your son about this kind of a tax debt, which to many can't be and will never be paid in full. Well, as a parent, I want you to know that it is not easy, it's hard, it's very hard. In fact, it pains me to know that in spite of my son's upbringing, in spite of his scholastic achievements, and much greater than his college debt, is this tax debt of simply being Black in America. And please let us not forget that this tax debt has been levied against generations of Blacks since the birth of this country, which in essence is the reason why we have a Black Lives Matter movement in the first place. With that being said, in respect to the council and to my white brothers and sisters, please allow me to add some clarification to this narrative. First, the Black Lives Matter movement was deemed not a political movement, but a social justice movement by the federal government. Its mission is to support more than just police reform and oversight. Its mission is to support safe and affordable house issues, to support issues with proper health care and food security, just to name a few. The Black Lives Matter movement stands for a simple proposition that Black lives also matter. In addition, the Black Lives Matter movement seeks to address the tax debt that has been levied against blacks, as well as voicing a demand that our country, from state to state, city to city, now affirm the value of Black lives in practical and pragmatic ways, which includes addressing an increasing racial wealth gap, fixing public schools that are failing, combating issues of housing, issues with diversity in hiring, along with gentrification, which continues to push people of color out of communities that they have lived in for generations. Also, keep in mind that none of this is about hatred for white lives, because all lives matter. All lives matter. Simply stated, the Black Lives Matter movement is about value of Black lives and should never be viewed as anti-white, which is a foundational premise of white supremacy. The Black Lives Matter movement is about acknowledging that the system already treats white lives as if they owe no tax debt, as if they have more value, as if they are more worthy of protection, safety, education, and a good quality of life than Black lives. In closing, recently I've heard many concerns from residents about the request for a Black Lives Matters mural in downtown South Haven. I want the residents to know I respect everyone's concern. But what troubles me the most is that some of the comments sounded like they came from a place of not trying to understand the years of harm, the years of pain, and the years of exhaustion that this tax debt has caused many blacks who live or is living in South Haven. Therefore, as an invested resident of 50-plus years, I urge the residents, I understand, I urge the residents as well as the city council to consider all the years of pain, injustice, and cries for change that came from those that have passed on before us and for those of us that are yet crying out for change all across this country. To the council, for many in this city, a Black Lives Matter mural placed somewhere downtown is a step in the right direction, and I'm sure it's one that would be greatly appreciated by the black community. But keep in mind, the harsh reality of Black Lives Matter murals, BLM hashtags, slogans, and symbols are simply not enough. The time has come in South Haven and in America where blacks are demanding change in a way of substance, not just symbols. To the council and to my white brothers and sisters, there are some that seek to divide us as Americans, but let us always remember, we're stronger together. We are
thank you
stronger
very much,
together.
caller. That's your time.
That a house divided cannot stand. Remember, we remember
Thank you,
this.
Mr. Wilkins.
United we
That's your
stand,
time.
divided
Thank
we
you.
fall.
Anybody else?
I think we have more callers. We have, I think, 3 or 4 at this point.
Okay.
Phil, if you can keep sending them out.
Just remind them we're going to mute them.
Caller, you're on with the council. You have 5 minutes. We'll give you a 1-minute warning. Please state your name and your address, and go ahead.
Hi, this is Monique Crowley. My address is 320 Fruit Street here in South Haven. Of course, I've been watching the meeting, and I just wanted to kind of say, I'm going to try to word this in the best way possible, but I just hope that this mural policy that is now being implemented based upon my submitted proposal is not going to have clauses in it that strictly deter our mural. I understand some of the concerns and stuff that have been brought up by other people, and I understand how some people have preferences as far as location and things of that nature. All of that is, it's understandable, and I'm taking all of that into consideration when I submitted these proposals. I know one of the other callers already stated earlier that the reason in which we initially went for the street mural is because that is part of the Black Lives Matter movement. I hate to say it that way, but it is. The other cities, neighboring states across the country, we're painting it on the street. It's making a statement. I don't think the statement is going to be as loud or heard as clearly if we revert own interpretation. That's not what the mural proposal was for. I mean, of course, I'm not saying let's don't do any wall murals or let's don't do any, any other inclusive things. That's great. The more, the better. However, this specific proposal was in direct collaboration with the nationwide Black Lives Matter movement that is doing street murals. So that is why I myself am adamant about the location, and I would like to stay on the street. Also, I wanted to include, with that being said, I guess, there is nothing really that the Parks and Planning Commission could come up with as far as a safe or health risk for having that mural placed in the spot that the initial proposal is requesting. And I know that because it's been done nationwide, city to city, state to state. How is South Haven any different than New York City or Detroit or Kalamazoo or Benton Harbor? Or, you know what I mean? It would have to be just a direct, you don't want to hear. And I say that just because it's interesting. I even heard earlier, and I thank the council member that brought up the question, why wasn't the Kids Corner mural brought to city council? I initially jumped through every hoop and hurdle that I was supposed to because I wanted to be an all-inclusive mural that the entire community is, enriched by and happy and enthusiastic about. So we're not trying to cut any corners. With that being said, though, I hope that doesn't now create a damper or a deterrent on our mural because we did do it the right way. Clearly, the Kids Corner mural wasn't done the right way. It didn't go through city council and didn't go through the correct channel. So let's not implement policies now that deter the mural that was proposed under the correct conditions, if that makes any sense. And that's all I want to say. I would still like for the mural to be painted on the street in front of City Hall in downtown South Haven.
Okay.
Very good.
Did you want to expound a little bit on the mural that you have planned or that you would like to see on the Elkenberg Park? I know that your email was a little brief on that, but I wasn't sure if you wanted to explain that to the council.
Sure. I'll be happy to elaborate. It's going to be very similar, to the mural that's painted down by Kids Corner. It's going to be an artistic tribute. So we're going to, bring in artistic things that actually replicate and, that are actually important to the African American history. So we're going to take it as far back though as Martin Luther King and Harriet Tubman. And so I would like for it to actually be a visual museum to where visually young kids can go and actually see. I even had some artists that we were collaborating and coming up with a timeline, that we were going to create it like a specific timeline to where we are today, how we got here and what's led us here and who's helped pave those stones. We've got all kinds of ideas, and I don't want to fill the whole can right now because I've got my artists working really hard on this. And so, of course, once we submit our drafts and stuff, if we get to that point to the Planning Commission, everybody will find out all the fine details. But yes, it's just going to be an artistic museum and memorial tribute to African American heritage and history.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay. So, is there any council members that had any, just since I am on the line, I know the last time that this item was called at the last meeting, I had some connection issues and wasn't able to tune in, so I wasn't sure I needed to call or what time I should have called, I guess. So while I am on the line, I don't know how much time I have left, but is there any questions that I can just answer directly in regards to the proposal, any further clarification I can provide or anything like that?
Well, sure. Since she is the organizer of this, I think it'd be fine to take any council comments. If council has any questions or wants any clarification from Ms. Crowley, she's on the line for questions.
Steve Schlack. I just in the package it says they hope to do this by spring of 2021. Is that correct?
Ms. Crowley?
I'm having a hard time hearing you. I'm sorry. I can hear Kate just fine, but you're kind of staticky. Can you repeat that, please?
Sure, I'll restate for him. He said in the packet, and of course this kind of went along with the emails you sent previously, which is you wanted to do the mural installation around spring break of 2021. Is that correct?
Yes, I would still like to shoot for that installation time frame. Of course, we know the weather is rapidly changing, winter is rapidly approaching. This isn't something that we want to just flop on the street. It's not, it's something that's going to take some time. We want to make this be something that everyone can be proud of. We want to take our time when we collaborate this mural. So absolutely, I'd like to push out the actual collaboration date to spring break of 2021. That gives us plenty of time to get all the approvals. I'm trying to, of course, lay all these bricks the perfect way. I want to pave this road as firmly as possible before we even, do the mural. So yes, 2021 spring break, I would like to do both murals at the same time. So the one at Elkenberg Park and the one downtown. And that's because I've got artists that are coming from some as far as out of Michigan. So some are coming out of state if this goes forward. So I would like to be able to put them all up in a hotel for just a week and be able to just get the whole thing done. With that being said, it would be, basically an entire event for the community. I've got so many things in the works, and I now may not even get time to talk about it. I know this is a time-sensitive meeting. However, when and if you all give us this approval, it's going to be another time in which the community can actually come together and collaborate on this mural. So it's going to allow families to, mingle at the park. We're going to have artists coming from, out of state, from out of town. Some of them have worked on the murals that are in Grand Rapids. Some have worked on the murals that are in Kalamazoo. So I've got prominent artists that are ready to go. I just need you guys to give me the green light. And the rest, I'm going to do the legwork, and the community is, giving me all the energy and oomph that I need. There's a lot of support for this mural. There really is. There's a lot of support for it. This isn't just something that I just woke up one day and said, hey, we should do. Nationwide, the whole world is screaming for Black Lives Matter. And that's another thing, too. Black Lives Matter is not an organization. It's not a group. It's not a clique. It's not an association. It's a statement, and it's got a period at the end of it. It's a statement. We are simply saying that Black Lives Matter. So there really is no room for argument. We're just asking if we can let everyone else know and everyone that visits South Haven know that the entire city of South Haven stands united.
Okay, thank you. Steve, did you have any follow-up questions for Ms. Crowley?
Not at this time, thanks.
Okay. Are there any other council comments for Ms. or questions for Ms.? Go ahead, Joe. I think your mute's on.
I want to thank Ms. Crowley, for speaking up. I had more questions than answers up until she spoke. Listening to her, clearly she wants this to be something inclusive for our community. She wants to bring people together. This is not about a divisive act. This is not about saying one people are better or worse than other people. This is all about recognizing people that have had a hard time in history. And she just wants to bring people together in this community and recognize that Blacks matter. Doesn't mean everybody else doesn't matter or matters less. And I'm just so glad she spoke up. It means much more to me now than it did before she spoke. So I hope that continuing through our policy, through planning, through the parks, we can come up with a final product that this community can be proud of. I have never been as proud of this community as I was when 1,000 people from our community and around the community marched for Black Lives Matter. And I'm hoping and I'm praying that this mural or a statue, whatever they come up with and whatever our planning and parks agree to, I hope it can bring the community closer together and not be divisive. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
All right.
Yep. Thank you. And if I can just thank all the council members really quick, I know my time is way over 5 minutes, but I just want to thank you all very much just for even considering the proposal. Of course, the members of the community I've thanked 1,000 times, but I know that a lot of them may watch the playback from this video. I want to thank everybody that called in support and everybody that's given their ideas, everybody that is in unison, and we're all chanting the same thing, and we're all saying Black Lives Matter. And so I just want to thank everybody, and I think together we're going to make this happen.
And hey, Monique, this is Scott Smith, Mayor. I also wanted to thank you for calling in. I'm curious on your, I'm especially interested in your second proposal, the artistic memorial tribute. Would that be something
Yes.
you would anticipate local? Is this a kind of, we're looking at local history or looking at including locals on this mural?
I'm glad that you brought that up. As a matter of fact, that is something that I thought about. I know you guys know Bobby Goodwin is actually a national champion, and she's born and raised right here. I don't know about born here. That may be speaking too far, but I believe she was born here. I know for a fact though she was raised here, played sports here in South Haven, whole 9 yards, and went on to become a national champion. I have thought about including African Americans, yes, right here from South Haven, that have gone on to do great things. Absolutely. It's going to be an all-inclusive mural. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Because I'd like to see that local input, that local contribution. I've said to several folks I'd be very supportive of a local initiative to create some sort of a project. I do, I mean, like I said, we'll go through the process with our boards and commissions, but again, my concern about the streets has a variety of concerns. I have concerns about, who's looking at it on the streets, and so I guess I would just ask you to consider other possible locations, just as we go through this process, that's all. So, but I like, the concepts and whatnot are important. I do feel, I think as a society, we're struggling a little bit right now with the, I think there's the statement Black Lives Matter, which we all truly believe. And then there's some of the, as you mentioned, there's policies, there are things that are being said by the Black Lives Matter organization that I think is just, there's a lot of misunderstanding. How's that sound? I want to make it clear that, I value Black lives. Our community, I believe, values Black lives. I just want to make sure we're creating a unified message with this, and I'll leave it at that. So I appreciate your work.
Yeah, absolutely. Just speaking on unity, I'm actually talking with some owners of some of the downtown businesses and stuff too. I have thought of alternative locations and the whole 9 yards, and that's kind of what brought me to the, second part of the proposal, because I would like to see something on a wall and, something that artists can really put a lot of detail into and, tell a story and more than just, 3 words painted on the street. I would think, because it's so much deeper than that, and so that's why I put the second part of that on there. However, I also think that it's very important that we stay in unison with the rest of the country right now and the rest of the world. I mean, this is literally the largest civil rights movement in history. South Haven, Michigan needs to be a part of that, and we need to show the world and the rest of the country that South Haven, Michigan does not stand for racism, and we are unified and united when it comes to that. So that's why I think the street painting is just very important. The location, it doesn't have the same value in a different location. It just doesn't.
Very good. All right. Any other council comments? Otherwise, I think we're good.
All right, we have 3 more callers. Thank you, Monique.
Thank you so much. You all have a great night.
You too.
Looks like we have 3 more callers.
All right, let's go.
Caller, you're on with the council. You'll have 5 minutes to discuss the mural, and please state your name and your address. We'll give you a 1-minute warning before your time is up.
Okay, my name is Darlene Sanders, Sanders. I live 322 Spencer Avenue, and I'd like the black mural to be painted here because it shows solidarity with the other sister cities.
Okay.
Very good.
All right, thank you, Ms. Sanders.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Caller, you're on with the council. You'll have 5 minutes to discuss your comments. Please state your name and your address, and we'll give you a 1-minute warning before your time is up.
Linda Tyson, 526 Chambers Street, South Haven, Michigan. I'm calling for the Black Lives Matter because of the things that are happening in our society, and I want to voice my opinion. We need this for our young people and for everyone. We need you to realize that the things are going on and we need help for our communities, for our children, and everyone. Black Lives Matter. I'm not sure exactly, what I need to say, but all I can say is that you need my vote. I'm giving you my vote. And I just think that we deserve a chance to be able to do things and vote and be able to walk around just like everyone else and be respected and everything. I think that's about it. I just need to let our voices be heard, especially, like I said, especially young people. We need guidance. We need your help. We all live together. We all should, be happy. We need love. That's what we need together, all of us. As one, we all need love. Black Lives Matter.
Thank you,
Very
Ms.
good.
Tyson. Is that all your comment?
I can't think of really anything else to say. It's just that I know that we need our voices heard, and I'm calling for this. I've been here 72 years, and we need to have a change, That's it.
Very good. We appreciate your comments. Thank you for calling.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Bless
you. Thank you. Hello, caller, you're on the line with the council. If you can state your name and your address, you'll have 5 minutes. We'll give you a 1-minute warning before your time is up.
All right, Jordan Taylor, 317 Able Street, South Haven, Michigan.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, I just wanted to vote yes for the Black Lives Matter mall.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
No.
Okay.
Very good. Well, thanks for your call.
All right, you're welcome.
It doesn't appear we have any more callers.
Okay, very good. So we've had some public comment. We have 2 proposals in front of us. Our options are I can read them off and we can vote on them, but we do have a policy we just discussed prior to this on actually looking at a mural policy prior to placing something. So I will, as I mentioned at the beginning, if someone would like to make a motion to table the 2 of these until they've had review by the various boards and commissions, that would be also a good move.
And Mayor, I guess I should jump in here. The mural policy kind of came up at our last meeting, seeing that we didn't really have any standards for placement and or who would maintain it. We do have a gift policy, but there seemed to be some movement from council to come up with a standardized policy for this request as well as others. So that kind of it germinated itself in the last meeting. That's why this the mural policy was brought forward. The staff report for the current mural proposals, I guess council could do one of 2 things. They could hold these proposals until the mural policy is reviewed and adopted, or they could send the mural proposals to the boards and commissions to be considered at the same time. I think that there's 2 options there, and I think council can make the decision on how they would like to handle these. But I do think that it's very nice having this kind of community input now. I'm not sure if other council members have received other comments. We at City Hall have received a few phone calls and of course the letters that we've sent out in the packet, as well as individually to the council members. But looks like there's a lot of input to be sought on this item.
I would tend to agree. All right. What's the council's pleasure here?
Mr. Mayor, this is Joe.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Maybe I'm just confused, or maybe I want to make a point here. I'm not sure which, but I don't want to be limited to 2 options. I'm not for painting our streets, but I am 101% for doing something, a mural, a painting, a statue, whatever Ms. Crowley can come back and tell us and suggest. I want to leave that door wide open. And as far as Elkenberg Park, I have no problem doing that any more than I would with Kids Corner. So I want to leave the door open, and I'm not sure, Kate, based on what you said, how we do that, or if council wants to do it, but I sure don't want to be limited to a yes or no on one or two options, because Ms. Crowley wasn't even sure exactly yet what she wants to do, and I'd like to see what they come up with, or have the planning commission look at it, then bring it back to us.
Yeah, and part of what I was saying, Joe, is if we do table it, we can wait for their input and then vote on these individually. I mean, we could wait for their input, and then we could take these on as a group. I think that's probably the easiest at this point in time, to send it to them for their review. They're aware of these, and then we could obviously bring them back and look at them. Right, to your point, you're saying we could send them on for review at this time, but I think first they need to get the policy understood. So I would say figure out the policy first.
And I agree, let's have a policy, but the final product we can vote on later, once we see some options.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, and I'm in complete agreement with what you just said. Like I said, I'm not a fan of street painting, but I thought of some sort of a tribute, especially as I talked to her about something with some local input. I am all there. So I think to table it, or to table those until we get back our policy from planning and parks, makes good sense. Must be getting late. I got George's dog is moving. Chris's kids are moving.
So at this point, is there a motion to table, or is there a motion to send to parks? I guess I'm just looking for some guidance for staff.
Yeah, or no motion again.
This is George Sleeper. Since the proposed policy would send these mural proposals to the Parks and Commission, I would make a motion that we send these proposals to the commissions as outlined in the proposed policy, and that way we can at least get that input out of the way in advance of the formal policy being adopted.
Joe Reeser, I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
We have two additional callers if you'd like to take them.
Let's have a debate here. So the motion and the second would be to send these as they are to be viewed prior to the policy being implemented. George, or are you just saying you're waiting for A before B? I just want to make sure we're clear. Are we saying create the policy, then review them?
I'm saying we can maybe do this a little bit in parallel, since the policy is probably going to end up including the review by these boards anyway, boards and commissions. Just get that out of the way, so when the policy does get implemented, we've got that step done.
Yep. Understand the motion. Okay. So we have a motion, we have a second to send these off for review. Is there any other council discussion? I see Chris has a finger up.
Just so I understand it. So we're talking, so what George was saying was we would send this along with the mural, brain lapse proposal, to send this along with it, and based on it being passed or pushed through by the board, then they could also pass the Black Lives Matter mural or not pass it, or so on and so forth. Is that what I understand?
My understanding is that, yes, they would be sent concurrently at the same time for consideration by both boards and commissions at the same time. Now, one would be a recommendation. They would both be recommendations to City Council. One would be to adopt the mural policy with the recommendations they put in there. The second recommendation would be either to allow or whatever they come up with the individual murals. But again, final decision making would be with the council on the mural proposals.
That good? He's good. All right, I got Joe. Oh, Joe, sorry, Joe and then Steve. Sorry, Joe.
I would like the policies, the procedures to be passed down to Planning Commission for final review. Bring it back to us and we can sign off yea or nay. That's done with that. The actual product should not be approved by Planning Commission. It is, I thought, for them to get community input to talk about it and come back to us and see what they've found. But ultimately we decide, and the product yet and then and now won't be decided until much later. Does that make sense?
Yes. So what you're saying pretty much is, I think what everyone else is understanding is that one, the mural policy will be receiving comments and suggestions from both Planning and Parks Commission. And based on George's motion, both Planning and Parks would consider the BLM mural proposals at the same time. No final action would occur until City Council looks at it and approves.
Okay.
All right, Steve.
Yes, as far as the motion that's on the table, I will vote no for that because I think it's confusing to the Planning Commission and the Parks Commission. I think we need the policy set out, and I think that's only fair for the person that proposed the mural in the first place to know exactly what the city rules or what the guidance policy will be for the mural policy. We've already decided and voted to send to Planning Commission and Parks Commission a draft mural policy, and I think that needs to be considered, and the details of that, public input and ideas and everything from that be voted on prior to accepting or forwarding any other mural applications to Planning Commission or Parks Commission. The only reason I voted to send the draft mural policy to the Planning Commission and Parks Commission was because we have one mural at the Kids Corner Park now. If I had my preference, I would not put a mural on any public property, especially in the traffic lanes. So at least everybody knows where I stand. I don't want any murals on any public property. I feel, and the comments I'm getting are very many, that it should be done on private property, just like all the other murals in town. So at that point in time, that's where I'm leaning. I will vote no on this mural going to Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Jeff, you had a comment.
Yeah, Steve said it pretty well. I liked George's motion, but then when Joe spoke, I'm afraid of what Joe was saying too, that if we're asking them to come up with a policy and then review a mural and the artists haven't even come up with their concept yet, I'm afraid we're putting too much on planning and parks. And I think we need the artists, I don't want to limit what they're trying to do. And so I'm with Steve. I don't think sending them both at the same time is a good idea. So I'd probably no on this as well. I think it needs to be separated.
Okay, good point. Anybody else? I would tend to be the same. I would prefer them to be separated. I also wouldn't mind taking on the issue of painting on traffic lanes as a separate item and see if this council even wants to have that up for review. Because I feel if we as a council, if there's not a majority of us that would like to see paintings on our streets, then we should have that made clear before we send it off for a lot of discussion. Because if we're talking about walls or other structures versus a street, that might be a game changer. So I will be a no on this as well. Again, I feel it's a little confusing. I think we should get the policy clear before we go on.
And sorry, I thought that's what I was agreeing to, so I guess not. I want the mural review policy and guidelines to go down to planning, to be voted on, brought back to us for final approval. The whole issue of what actual mural, what actual product should be decided later and reviewed separately. Is that what also Steve has said? Well, Steve, I don't think wants it regardless in the public, but that's still to be discussed.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, if we have no other comments, the motion was to send both of these on to Planning and Parks for their review.
Right, and there was a second, so I think we are just looking
Yep,
for vote.
so we just have to roll call.
Arnold,
No.
Campbell,
No.
Reeser,
No.
Schlatt,
No.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
No.
Smith.
No. And again, just to be clear to the public, this is simply saying no to the motion that we would send this concurrently. It does not mean at this time they will not be considered. We're simply saying we want to have the policy in place prior to considering these. So that's what we're at right now. Let's move on to item 9. City Council will be asked to receive an update on Dunkley Avenue flooding. It's better. Well, it was better. I didn't look today.
Thank you, Mayor. This is Mike Dopp, City Engineer. Staff wanted to give an update where we're at with the Dunkley Avenue flooding. I wanted to give a brief update on kind of where we've been the last 2 years, year and a half. And then I've got Steve Osting on here with Prine and Newhoff. He's going to give a update on 3 different options, potential options that his firm put together. This all started last summer in June. The water started to rise and started to get around the Slipaway condos, South Haven Marina townhomes, and Bob Burr's area. And the water just kind of stayed once it went to a certain level. Staff hired Edgewater Resources in June, July. They came out and gave some very basic ideas on what we could do. And then at that time, we took it to council and we went with, I guess, a lesser option, which was called option 2 to go forward with, which was implemented in September last year. That entailed putting 2 pumps in existing catch basins and plugging those outlets so the water couldn't come back into the road. And that was fairly successful till through the fall and into the winter. And then at some point late last winter, the water started to come up once again and just continuously flooded the area. And the pumps, they weren't designed to just flood pump out the water coming from the river continuously like that. So actually during the winter, staff decided to get a more detailed plan put together, which included actually field survey work. And so we reached out to Prine and Newhoff and had them give us a proposal in which they went forward with and did a survey of the area, and they have now put together a report, which Steve will talk about in a few minutes. In the meantime, we were getting input from the property owners in the area that the water was just staying there and it was getting to be a hazard. The road had been closed for some time. And so we, as a staff, put together what we called option 5, which was adding 1 more pump and adding sandbags and berms and a tiger dam to different areas, private property. That was implemented in, I think, sometime in August, and has been fairly successful. When we get big rains, the pumps take a little bit of time to get caught up, but eventually they do, and the road dries up. So I think most of the owners have been fairly happy. One additional thing we did, because our option 5 wasn't going to do anything for the water over the road on Wells Street down by the fish cleaning station. We decided to put some asphalt millings in that area to raise the road. And now I think for the most part, people can get through all the way through the road and it's dry. People can get to the boat launch. And I think that's worked out fairly well. That's kind of where we're at now. So I'd like to get Steve Osting on here. He can talk about 3 different options that they put together. One is raising the road in that Dunkley area. Another option is kind of similar to what we did, but a more permanent with a much larger pump station. And then another option is putting in a pump station in a different location and pretty much drying up the whole area extent. So with that, I'll hand it over to Steve and he can go over those different options.
Okay, thank you. Yes, this is Steve Osting here with Brennan Newhoff, and I think Mike did a fine job of giving the overview here. So our charge was to look at the situation and see what we can come up with for long-term solutions. And recognizing that you already have some temporary solutions in place with some sandbags and pumps. You've been making it work, but the question before us was, what would it really take to address this issue with a long-term solution? So one question specifically to that end was, what could be accomplished by raising the road? And then secondly, if it were to involve pumps, what would that take as well? So the three scenarios that we came up with are all outlined in the preliminary engineering report that's in your packet. If I have the ability to share my screen, I'd love to do that with you. It says here that if the organizer is be able to do that. If not, I'll just do it verbally here. But just to give you the overview of what these options entail, reconstructing the road in the low area that has been inundated with water. Sorry, I'm seeing that I may have presenter access momentarily. Apologize for a brief delay. I believe I am sharing now. Please, if someone could give me some indication if you're seeing my screen.
We are not.
We don't see that, Steve. I don't know if any of the other council. No.
No, hold on.
I think they've made you the presenter, Steve. So.
Okay. So if the screen share isn't coming through, I think we can move on and do it without that then. So the preliminary engineering report that's in your packet contains all of the detail. There's a figure in there just labeled Figure 1, which provides a map of the area that could potentially be improved through reconstructing the street. We went through the preliminary engineering design of how the road could be reprofiled, how high it could be raised, at what locations, and how much flooding reduction could be accomplished with raising the road. And unfortunately, we found that reconstructing the road alone would not provide a full solution to the problem that you've been experiencing. You've had at least 14 inches of water in the road at certain locations, perhaps even higher. And we've concluded that it would be possible to raise the road as much as, it varies depending on where you measure, 3 to 6 inches across much of the area of interest. I think closer to 8 or 9 inches at one location. The primary constraint there, of course, is that the building provides access, or the road provides access to the buildings. And so without the ability, to raise the buildings, there's only so high you can go with raising the road. So that option, if the road were to be reconstructed and raised as high as it could be, given the constraint of those buildings, would provide a reduction in the depth of flooded waters, but would not totally eliminate it. The estimated cost for that scenario, we've estimated at $670,000. That includes construction as well as an allowance for engineering and contingencies. So with that being only a partial solution then, we've prepared two other scenarios, as Mike mentioned, scenarios that would involve pumping the water. So with that one, I would refer you to, in the report, what is described as Figure 2. Figure 2 shows a map of the area with a thin orange line that kind of goes along the river, around the buildings, and kind of outlines what we describe as a raised perimeter. Okay, so that's essentially what you've done with the sandbags and so forth, is anywhere the water's getting in, raise that area, block it off. Essentially what that does is it creates a sort of a bathtub, so to speak, and then you use pumps to pump any rainwater out of that area. So the cost for that scenario is largely driven by the pumping station, because the cost of raising the grade at certain locations is, it all contributes, of course, but the pump station being the major driver. We looked at various options for sizing the pump stations. Mike had made the comment that the temporary pumps you're using now takes a little time for them to catch up during a heavy rain. But the way that we looked at it was what engineers refer to as a 10-year storm or a 100-year storm. That would be a rainfall that has, by definition, either a 10% probability of occurring in a given year or a 1% probability. So given the amount of land area that drains to the low spot and how much rainfall that is, the pumps in these scenarios are sized based on that method. So scenario B results in a total project cost of $2.7 million if a pump station designed for a 10-year storm were to be constructed to service this area. If that were to be designed with a 100-year storm, that adds some additional cost. That's the $3.2 million cost estimate for that. And so the trade-off between the various sizes of storms that a pump station might be designed for is at the end of the day, it's a level of service decision based on how much flood protection is to be achieved for the buildings that are within the protected area. So that is scenario B. Scenario B addresses the area that has been flooded near the buildings. It did not include the area further north up in Black River Park near the fish cleaning station. So that was scenario C. So scenario C, much like scenario B, relies upon a constructed raised perimeter and a stormwater pumping station. So enlarging the service area to provide service for the portion of Black River Park near the fish cleaning station raises the total project cost in the 10-year storm design to $3.1 million, or it would raise the total project cost in the 100-year storm design up to $3.9 million. So that's the brief overview of the project costs and available options. So with that, I guess I'd be interested to hear any questions, if I can provide any clarification on the differences or the trade-offs. What questions that I could address about these options?
I have a quick question. Just for understanding, what would be the real cost if we just filled with, I guess, the gravel for? I mean, if we're thinking the water will eventually go down, what's the cost of just putting gravel like we did in front of the thing over a period of time versus spending $3 million? Just wondering.
I don't know if Mike or Bill, if you could field that one better than I could with what you've invested in the temporary solutions. If the question is to continue maintaining the temporary solutions that have been in place.
I think we've got roughly 90 to 100,000 invested now. with everything in the temporary. I don't know. We'd have to look and see if we could. I don't know that it's possible just to add more gravel to raise things throughout. We just don't know how long the water's going to stay up. It may be this year we kind of peaked and maybe we're going to start going down, but nobody really knows at this point.
Okay. It's something I know I have to ask because someone's going to ask me. So
my question would just be, if you look at a lot of the models and what most are saying is they're, let's hope we're right, but the lake does start to trend down. Does that change, the game plan? Obviously you don't need it, but is there a cost involved in building a system too large? Then you have to maintain pumps because they're not getting, water coming into them. So there's that challenge as well. Just curious if that scenario has been run through, like, we're at the high point, now we're headed lower, and 10 years we'll be dredging again. So just thoughts on which scenario addresses that as well.
Yeah, I would agree that that is some concern, is to kind of overbuild for a period of time and then it's not used. I think what we're really trying to do is let the council know what it would cost to do some more permanent solutions out there. Because I think over the last year, we've been asked questions on this, what it would take to do something more permanent. And so that's why we had Steve and his firm put this together. So in the future, we can answer that question. People can get a better understanding of just how expensive it could be to do something more permanent. And also, we've been asked the question of why we didn't, as the city, raise the road more when we went through and did the sewer projects. And now after looking at things, we really couldn't raise the road much. It'd be fairly minimal compared to where we're at now.
Water. Perfect. No, that's good to know. I think Steve had a question, if I saw that hand down there correctly.
Yeah, I seen in the package where they set up like a special assessment district in order to pay for this if council would so desire. Did we break that down to each property owner and the amount each property owner would be assessed for?
No, we did not. We threw that in there just to give an idea of which property owners would be taking this burden on going forward and putting a number on it. So we'd have to go further with breaking it out.
And maybe after tonight's meeting, we'll get a little more input with that assessment district being out there in the package that City Council hadn't made for public. So I would express my notes to my neighbors to give us your input. So thank you.
Good advice. Thank you. Any other questions? George.
Mike, do you have a recommendation? Do you have an idea what you prefer to see for this area?
Personally, at this time, I'm kind of wait and see type of situation where, a year from now, maybe the lake is starting to go down. Maybe we have seen the peak. That's why I think Bill and myself had kind of, some people might have thought we were a little slow to react when the water came up originally, but I think history's told us that eventually the lake will go back down after a few years, and we were kind of going under, with that pattern in mind. And so I somewhat feel that we could try this, what we've got in place, for another year or two. We've got the license agreements in place. Some of them are actually for 5 years, but one of the main license agreements is for 2 years. So we've kind of got this established, and it does seem to be working.
Thank you.
Very good. I would agree. It's been dry down there. So I didn't look today. How did it survive with the rains the last 24 hours? Still good?
There was some water down by Bob Burr's house, but I think it had been going down, and then some water came in, and it's kind of up and down when we get some heavy rains.
Very good. All right. Well, we appreciate all of your efforts to dry it out. I know the neighbors have been very appreciative. My kid works for Mr. Campbell down by the boat docks down there, and he appreciates not having to slop around in the muck as well. So much appreciated. I see no other council comments, right? Nothing else? I think we're good. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go on to new business. Can everyone push on for another? Can we keep going? Everyone got to take a pause for a minute. I didn't know comments. Let's go. New business. City Council will be asked to consider approval of the following special event applications. A, special event 2020-21, veteran ceremony in honor of Corporal Earl A. Janoski, to be held on September the 19th, 2020, from 11 a.m. until 11:15 a.m. on City Hall front lawn. Just need a motion.
We have a couple too.
Yeah.
This is George Sleeper. I make a motion to approve special event 2020-21, the veteran ceremony in honor of Corporal Earl A. Janoski.
Steve Slack, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. And again, public comment 6370777. We have somebody on the phone. Kate, just want to tell us what this is about, and then we'll put the color on.
Sure, this is just a special event. There's going to be a short ceremony out here in front of City Hall with the Honor Guard to commemorate the death of Corporal Earl A. Janoski. He served in the Korean War, and we were hoping to have an unveiling ceremony of his name being added to the memorial out front.
Very good. And we have a caller.
Yes. Hello, caller. You're on the line with the council. You'll have 5 minutes. We'll give you a 1-minute warning. If you can state your name and your address, you can go ahead.
Hi, this is Jason Turner. I'm representing the American Legion at 129 Michigan Avenue. I just wanted to call and ask for everyone's support. It sounds like we have the motion on the floor to approve it. There was a late addition. It just happened before the long weekend. We have the Hooligans flight team. We want to have them come fly over, so it's just a little extra noise, people looking up in the sky. But there shouldn't be any more people out enjoying the ceremony.
Very good. Thanks, Jason, for the heads up and for your service and for staying on the phone for almost 2 hours to make your comments.
That's funny. I wasn't on the phone, but I was watching the entire.
Watching. Well, that's true. Yeah,
I know.
We're staying
Everybody
tuned.
wants to go home, so go ahead and vote, please.
There you go. Vote it up. All right. Any other council questions for this fine gentleman? I see nothing. All right. So this plus the Hooligans. Very exciting. We have a motion and a second. Let's roll call.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. You're all set, Jason. Thanks for bringing this forward.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Have a great night.
Good night.
Next, we have special event 2020-22 Harvest Meeting to be held on September the 15th, 2020 from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. at the Huron Street Pavilion. It's the Harvest Meeting or Harvest Gathering, I wonder.
Well, actually, what it is it's mechanical harvest equipment will be down at the pavilion on September 15th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's there to help MBG marketing blueberry growers learn more about how to harvest their crops mechanically with a harvester. So, and due to COVID-19 with the governor's order, they need to be outside and maintain 6-foot distance. And, well, we have a pavilion, and it's nice to be out of the weather in days like this. So we're asking to use that pavilion.
Oh, there it is. All right. How about a motion on this one?
This is Joe Reeser. I'll propose a motion for special event 2020-22 Harvest Meeting to be held on September 15th, 2020 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Huron Street Pavilion.
Jeff Arnold, I'll second.
Very good. Motion, second. Kate's giving her information. Public comment 6370777. I don't know if anybody had called in already. I'm sure this is probably a quiet topic.
No, I haven't heard anything.
I feel pretty confident we can go ahead and just roll call this one.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper, Yes. Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. Next item, City Council will be asked to consider approval of Resolution 2020-34, which is a resolution providing local government approval for an off-premises tasting room license application to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission for the New Holland Brewing Company, LLC, located at 253 Center Street. And again, for public comment on this one, before I get my motion and my second, 6370777. So get your calls in the queue now. So I just need a motion if someone would be so interested.
I'll make a motion for resolution 2020-34, a resolution providing local government approval for an off-premises tasting room license application to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission for New Holland Brewery, LLC, located at 253 Center Street.
Steve Slack, I'll second.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Kate Hosier.
Sure. So this will be to conform with LCC regulations. We'll need to have a public hearing on the request. And what New Holland Brewery is looking to do here is have a tasting room for their spirits and wine. So yes, they're a brewer, but they're looking for the tasting for the spirits and the wine. So they're looking to put in a nice little tasting room on Center Street in the old Hales building. And they may have small appetizers and some retail portion, but it would be similar to other tasting rooms that we have around town. And I do know that a representative for New Holland is here on the phone with us.
Great.
You're ready.
Well, let's hear from him.
Hello, caller. You're on the line with the council. You'll have a number of minutes since you're the, I believe this is one of the New Holland representatives. If you can just state your name and that you're with New Holland, go ahead.
Great. Thank you, everyone. My name is David White. I'm a partner with New Holland Brewing Company and excited to have in front of you our application for a spirits tasting room. We've been neighbors for over 23 years, but we're very excited for the opportunity to come down and join South Haven. And we're very much impressed with all of the work you've done downtown, especially on Center Street, which looks beautiful, by the way. And we're excited to bring forward our spirits, some of our ciders, seltzers, a little bit of food, and then some merchandise for consumers.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Very good. Thanks. It's exciting to see another business head down there on Center Street. So looking forward to seeing your success.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other council questions on this one? Jeff Arnold.
Since we have Steve on the phone, Steve, you guys have a tasting room like this in Saugatuck. Is that what we could expect here? So the people of South Haven kind of know what to expect? Is that it?
Absolutely. Yes. So we do. We opened one last year in Saugatuck, and it's comparable to the same size, and has a little retail presence in the front, and then a tasting bar through the middle. And I think in the packet there's some pictures showing the Saugatuck location, and just describing that we'll have some spirit to go, and then some small flatbreads and things that can be enjoyed on premise or also taken off premise. So yes, it will be very similar to Saugatuck if you've been there, and it's a fun little spot.
Thank you.
Very good. That'd be nice. Any other questions, comments? I see none. Any public call-ins at this time?
Doesn't appear how, but I'll check. No other public comments, sir.
All right. We have a motion. We have a second for approval of Resolution 2020-34 for the New Holland Brewing Tasting Room. Let's do a roll call.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper, yes. Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, and congratulations. And again, look forward to visiting your site.
Thank you very much. Very excited to join the downtown area.
All right, very
Have
good.
a great evening.
We'll
All
talk
right,
to you
thank you,
soon.
Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Bye-bye.
thank you. Have a good night. Next, City Council will be asked to consider awarding a contract to Compton Inc. of South Haven, Michigan, in the amount of $527,375 and what is that? 63 cents for the fall 2020 street resurfacing project.
Yes, Your Honor. This is a contract that's in front of City Council. I've been had DPW updates on this. This is Hubbard, Superior to Phoenix, Michigan, Prospect to Hubbard Street, and then Prospect. This is a not just a mill and fill, but this is a removal of the asphalt, improving the subgrade, and some minor actual storm repairs. We'll have ADA ramps installed, so we'll meet the American Disabilities Act. The award, like you said, is $527,375.63. City Council have any questions on this project?
And these are all fall, correct? Is that the goal?
This was actually going to be spring now. We were just informed. I was going to update you and City Council during the DPW update. This will now be a spring project as well.
Okay. All right.
We feel we can actually get better asphalt prices during that time frame.
Well,
question.
Money. Yep, go ahead, Chris.
If it is spring, what's the time frame to finish it then?
I don't have that in front of me, Chris. I would have to get back with you. I would suspect probably before before Memorial Day, but I'd have to get back with you.
Okay. I think that's something I would probably need to know.
Okay.
Any other questions? I guess I should also remind the public, 637-0777 if you want to make any comments. And we also need a motion still on this one, so if we want to get a motion in a second to further our discussion, I will take the motion.
I will say that the letter in the package doesn't state a finish date. It just says spring of 2021. Said that they had the option to do this fall, but had to complete the project. And if they've changed that to go ahead and issue us that they were going to do it in the spring instead, there isn't a stipulation in the update I have in my packet for when the completion date is in the spring.
No, but I could reach back out to the contractor. If you want, we can just table this.
Tabled then, and as long as they're waiting until spring, just table it now until we find out there and get that commitment that it's done before Memorial Day at least or something.
Yes, we can.
Or just take no action.
Yep.
Or just take no action at this time.
Yeah, we can just take no action.
Okay, good.
Oh, just go ahead. Okay. All right. In that case, so everyone understands, we'll wait for confirmation on that, kind of the completion date, which makes good sense. And if that's the case, we are down to city manager search update. I think I was going to fill in. I don't think Kim was going to join us, right?
No.
Good. She was going to. So, city manager search update. We have 7 candidates. We've narrowed it down to 7. I think everyone's seen all the information, all the packets. We will be conducting interviews of those 7 candidates starting next week, Tuesday through Friday night. Again, the interview committee right now will be myself, Eddie Polk, Stephanie Timmer, Ross Stein, and Bob Straits. And the goal will be to probably take this group of 7. I think realistically we have some very good candidates within that group. I think we would then hopefully hone that down to probably 3. With it, we would then represent to city council for the council interviews, which we'll be sending out some emails to try to come, just look at our schedules. Probably another couple weeks after that, some evenings, we'll be putting together an interview schedule based on those final candidates. And everyone got in their packet the names of our finalists. One of the finalists is sitting across from me here, so excited to see that. And any questions from the group? Everyone's quiet, ready to go to sleep. So you've got this packet in your, you got the information in your packet as well. So just take a look. And I know you've all seen all the resumes. There are, like I said, some very good candidates in there. So if there's no other questions on that, let's go to our city manager. Oh, sorry. We have a DPW report. I'm missing a few things. So DPW, Bill.
Well, thank you, Your Honor. A few of the things have already been covered. The first portion we just covered at the Dunkley Avenue, additional flood controls. Kalamazoo resurfacing Clinton to Erie. That is spring of this year, April, and finish mid-May. Rate study, UFS is done with it, and we're going to have a special meeting with Shawsa tomorrow at 4 p.m. to go over the study. Cross-connection control inspections, HydroCorp, again, that is the normal. That's going to be happening, and it's not going to stop. Residential accounts are to be inspected once every 10 years. So tell everybody if they're physical inspections, it's once every 10 years. All the other accounts are 1 to 5, depending on their hazard. Lead service replacement, as the Kalamazoo resurfacing project, in addition to that, we're doing the service line replacement. So every time we're doing a resurface of the road, the new normal is going to be, if there's galvanized services within there, we're going to be replacing those. That's a part of our mandate through the state for the 5% actually per year we're supposed to change out. Our first year, we're budgeting $625,000. Riverfront lights are still off. That was due to a break we have in the line or some voltage that was leaking over to the river. That's still off for until we don't have any update on that other than they're still off. AMI system, I should be getting that out for request for proposals within the next couple of weeks. Hubbard, Prospect to Hubbard, and the rest of these we just tabled. I will get City Council a time frame on the spring. And the Black River small watercraft dock enhancement, they were driving pilings last Thursday, driving 2. And an update that I just before City Council meeting, Center Street, Kalen will be out the next couple of weeks to do their punch list items. So you'll see Kalen out. They have a long list of items that need to take care of for the contract. City Council have any questions on the update or any other projects, DPW projects?
I'll jump in first. I still continue to have great comments about Center Street, and it is truly a very good-looking street when you drive down it. It turned out well. So just keep tooting your horn on that one. It turned out well. Any other comments? It's quiet. All right. We're good. Let's go ahead. Just a reminder, citizens in the audience, if you'd like to be heard on something we have not already talked about that's not on the agenda, that number is 269-637, lost it. 0, what is it again?
637-0777.
There you go. Too late, I've lost. Oh, there it was. 637-0777. I don't know if you want to go first and give a minute for the public, or let's just wait 45 seconds. Or we got somebody. Let's go. There we go.
Hello, caller. You're on the line. You have 5 minutes. We'll give you a 1-minute warning before your time is up. If you can state your name and your address, you're on with the council.
Joe Wilkins, 811 Indiana Street. This will probably be my shortest comment. Over the past summer, my wife and I enjoyed the city while walking, taking our morning walks, and a lot of times I think we ran into Councilman Chris. Unfortunately, on many occasions while walking down Broadway, we were forced to cross over into the streets to continue our walk in the bike lane because bikers chose to ride on the sidewalk versus the established bike lane on Broadway. I also, several times, personally witnessed several near misses because of the rate of speed and what looked like confusion with the new lane diet. I believe that under the previous city manager that the new lane diet could be placed on the agenda for review. Now that the summer is over, I'm wondering if the council have considered reviewing the effectiveness of the new lane diet. And so that's just a thought or something I want to just bring up to the council because many times my wife and I was forced into the bike lane. It doesn't look like they're utilizing the bike lane as what was hoped. So I just want to make at least see if that's up for further discussion. That's my comment.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
No, it doesn't appear that we'll have any.
All right, city manager.
Sure. Well, thank you. I did want to announce that former Mayor Dale Lewis did pass over the weekend. He was the city's mayor from 2002 to 2006, as well as the chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight was his visitation at Phil Brandt's funeral home, and tomorrow there will be a funeral at 3 p.m. The details are on the Phil Brandt site. I just want to make that clear. Very nice. Nice to honor Mr. Lewis. He was a great teacher and contributed a lot to South Haven. Two, we had a pretty tough weekend on the beach. We had a number of rescues that started Thursday into Sunday when I made the decision to barricade the beach since we just couldn't get people to stay out of the red flag areas, and we did have a tragedy strike. I don't believe that the young man has been recovered. I know that the dive teams were out there earlier today in the conditions, but it appears to me that I know that Shays is already looking into whether or not what are their emergency powers under its fire chief in emergency situations. And we do have some folks who want the city to look at whether or not the city wants to take on more duties to protect people on the pier. Just to be clear, right now the city has a duty of care for the city beach and city property. That means that we can, and like I did this weekend, we can bar the public from going onto the sand or from entering the pier from public property. I know people have asked, why can't we just put a barricade across the pier? And for many years, and I think it was in the 80s or maybe the early 90s, the city did so. Once you do set up that new barricade on the pier, you'd have to do one of two things. You'd have to get a license from the Corps of Engineers to do that on federal property. And two, you have to understand that you're now adding to your duty of care to now incorporate that federal property. So if the city does want to take that on, we do have to understand that if we don't carry that duty forward, or we're not as diligent as either shutting down the pier or any number of things, there's quite a bit of research that would have to be done on this before we take that on. But once you take on a duty of care, you then have a responsibility. So where you didn't have one, if you did take it on, you would be adding to your responsibility. So it sounds to me like there's some research that is needed, as well as weighing in with our carriers, as well as just trying to see what have we done in the past, what do we want to do going forward. So I'll be bringing that up in successive meetings. And then third, I wanted to just start having Travis, the city clerk, kind of give some updates on what's going to be happening with the election. Of course, we had a very large absentee ballot turnout for the August primary. So just a few folks should just know the drop box that's on the north side of City Hall, where you can pay your bill overnight or just drop off, that also serves as an absentee ballot container. You can always turn in your ballot there. And for any other updates, I'm going to have Travis just kind of speak up and say anything that he needs to kind of lend out to the crowd.
So we'll be receiving ballots on September 19th. That's the date. That's 45 days before the election, and that's a part of state law that county clerks have to deliver ballots to local clerks' offices by that date. That's a Saturday. We will start preliminary accuracy testing on that following Monday. Usually that'll take about a day to a day and a half to test the programming on the tabulators. And then once we've completed that process, we start sending out ballots. Right now we're sitting on a stack of about 1,100 absentee ballot applications. So I've been telling folks that if you've already requested a ballot, expect your ballot. I'm telling folks sometime between September 25th and September 30th. I think that's a pretty reasonable estimate. It's probably going to take a good 5 or 6 days to get them all pushed out. As Kate was saying, the night drop box, a 24-hour box out in the City Hall parking lot at the right along Quaker is available for ballots to be dropped in. Once we receive ballots here at City Hall and start sending them out, we'll post additional signage on that box indicating that as a ballot drop location. But in addition to that, we have the box that we've always had that'll be here inside the lobby at City Hall, and that's open during business hours, Monday through Friday. Additionally, you can always turn in a ballot with customer service as well. And then, of course, mailing your ballot back in is always an option.
So 1,100, what would a typical year be?
The most absentee ballots that we had ever received prior to August, I believe I think we had 700 or so for the last presidential that we received. We received over 800 for the August election. Like I said, we already have 1,100 applications. I'm anticipating by the time we get done with this, we're probably going to be pushing 2,000 by the time we get to election day. So
wow. Okay.
That's just my estimate.
Wow. Very good. Thanks for your work. That's crazy.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Joe.
And I added one quick thing. This I just found out. The number of errors on absentee ballots is enormously high. Simple things like little crossings on your ballot invalidate your vote. A suburb of Kalamazoo had one small suburb, had over 500 absentee ballots thrown out because of errors on the ballot. So it should be noted that we have to be extremely careful in filling them out correctly so your vote does in fact count.
Yeah, and to that end, what I'd remind everyone too is that if you do request an absentee ballot, when you get it, it will have, it's a little like a quarter-sized sheet of paper that explains the directions for that specific election. I think what may have happened at that precinct that you were referring to, Joe, was folks probably cross-voted in the August primary. Now, that doesn't invalidate your ballot completely, but it does invalidate the partisan section. So that comes up during primary elections. This, of course, is not a primary, so you can vote for candidates of one party and then vote for a candidate of another party in a different race. But I think that may have been what happened there. So, but that's just my guess based on what the nature of that last election.
Very good. Anything else?
The only thing to say about that, if anyone has questions about the ballot, the application, anything, call Travis Sullivan, the city clerk. His telephone number is 637-0750. His email address is on the city's website. He's there to answer any questions you may have about your ballot, the application, or the election process.
Perfect. All right. City council comments. Letitia, start with you. You're in the top corner.
All right. Well, first I want to say that I wanted to commend Miss Monique Crowley for her efforts, for her previous works in organizing the Black Lives Matter March in June. And I want to commend her for having the courage to stand up and try to have a Black Lives Matter mural placed here in the city of South Haven. And I want it to be said that I don't have a problem with it, and I support her in her efforts. But my hope and my prayer is that the city of South Haven will stand up and show the community, show the visitors, that Black Lives Matter. It's one thing to say it in words, but it's another thing to say it in actions. And what I mean by that, I hear all the different comments about all lives matter and different lives matter, but if Black lives truly matter, and then you have to do something about it. And what I mean by do something about it, then the city of South Haven should take a stand in trying to bridge the gaps of the disparities that Blacks are facing in this community. And, show the people that Black lives really do matter. Show the Blacks in this community that Black lives truly matter. And so, that is just my take on it, because I think it's deeper than just symbols. It's deeper than just words. It's deeper than just a painting. I just think that the city of South Haven needs to show some actions. It's time to show some actions. That's it.
Very good. Thank you, Jeff. Arnold.
I'm really glad that Ms. Crowley called and spoke and discussed her vision and her plans. It was good that we got so many calls in. I've been getting some emails, and the emails are kind of mixed, and so that was definitely a strong number of people expressing their support for the idea. So that was really good to hear. And then I also would like to also acknowledge the passing of Dale Lewis, former mayor. I did have the luck I caught the tail end of his education career. He was still doing a little subbing at the high school when I retired. And so I did have the pleasure of knowing Mr. Lewis in the educational setting. And then, of course, he did such a nice job serving the city. And so my thoughts are with his family at this time. And those are my comments.
Thank you. Joe Reeser.
I had a whole speech written, and it's too late, and I don't think it's necessary. I do want to say that some people say it's not necessary to say Black Lives Matter because all lives matter. I've heard it too many times. When in fact, in our country, too often, this has not been the case, and Black lives have not mattered equally. And we all know it, and I have a list of things I could go through, but we all know them. What I was impressed about tonight were the number of callers, but I strongly suspect the people that called in were not the usual people that come to our city council meetings or the ones that call in. And that's good. That means we don't have apathy. That means people care. The other thing I was impressed by, people ask for the most basic things in those phone calls. I wrote them down when they're talking. They simply want respect. They want equality. They want diversity. Nothing they asked for was out of the ordinary. Just treat us kindly. And I think we have that kind of a community. And I know a mural is a symbol. And I think some symbols have a lot of power. Ask any immigrant in this country, first generation, ask them about the Statue of Liberty, what it means to them when they came in through New York. Symbols do have some meaning, and I don't think it's asking too much to do that. That's it. Thank you for letting me speak.
Very good. Thanks, Joe. George Sleeper.
Yeah, I also want to thank everyone that called in and gave us their input. And not just those that called in, but those that have been providing emails and voicemails on these topics. We really do appreciate input. I also want to especially recognize Monique Crowley for taking action upon herself to actually try to make the city better. And with more people like that, the city will get better. I do feel blessed that South Haven is a diverse community. And I feel it's essential to communicate the importance and the contributions of Black members of our community and the barriers they've faced throughout history. We just need to do it in a way that brings the community together, kind of like what we saw with the march earlier this year. That's it.
Well stated. Thank you. Steve Schlock.
This was the first I heard about Dale Lewis, so my thoughts are with his family. this evening. And I would also like to thank Shays and our police department for their service to our town. To ask them to do what they've been doing is just phenomenal. And my thoughts go out to the family that is affected by the recent loss. Thanks.
Well stated. Thank you. Chris Campbell.
Yeah, I think Kate covered a lot of what I was thinking. I'd like the city to kind of look and see what other towns are doing with the piers on wave action days. I think a lot of issues we've seen that Shays has had to go out for lately has been involving the South Pier. My understanding is the city we don't control the pier. We do control the walkway to the pier. Maybe looking at a temporary road work caution sign, a pop-up sign with stick figures showing somebody swept off or something simple just to inform people. I think most people are just not informed. They assume it's safe. People are going out with strollers and we're seeing waves just crashing over and they're just not used to it. And I think information is the key. We just need to inform people. And on days that we see these actions happening, maybe when Shays is putting up flags, looking at evaluating if a pop-up sign needs to be put up in place, just on our walkway, just to warn people. So, and that's all I have.
Very good. I would agree. And I have talked to Kate and we've kind of had some discussions about, obviously gathering information from other communities, getting the Coast Guard involved, really just seeing what's best practice. And to your point about education, I was kind of fascinated to watch News 3 was here interviewing people and they were pleasantly unaware that those red flags were up. They should avoid the structure that, red danger. And so we might need to just make the signs blatantly obvious that red means danger and you can die. And that's, we got to just let people know it's dangerous. So I too would just like to thank the folks from Shays for being out there and, putting their lives at risk. If you saw the photos of them out kind of those big waves, I know we had a lot of folks, good Samaritans out there pulling people out of the water. So again, just be safe. Red flags are there for a reason, and please stay out of the water, stay off the piers. Talking about safety, we continue to just have concerns about golf carts. I know Planning Commission has looked at it. I'm hoping, I think we've got some time here later in the fall, we can look at what they came up with regarding seat belts, rear facing, and just as a council have those discussions about their thoughts on golf cart safety. So as we're winding down the season, lots of phone calls. I'd like to discuss it and coming up maybe in October, November.
Yeah, we'll plan to bring the memo recommended changes from the Planning Commission to the council in October.
Okay, perfect. And Gail stole my thunder. So yeah, the United Way, the 21-day equity challenge. I think she mentioned the number. So now they can link you up at 269-982-1700. And really it's just, as their description, self-guided learning journey to learn about the history and impacts of racism and how to shape the lives of people in Southwest Michigan. So it'll be a nice opportunity if you've got some time. I think it's going to be an email blast every day just with information. And so again, if we can agree to, learn more, be better, then we're all going to be better. So with that, I also just would say my thoughts and prayers are with the family of Dale Lewis. I had the privilege of, when I first got on council in 2002, for my first 4 years, Dale was mayor and was a lot of fun. I was a teacher. My fond memories of Dale, he somehow always managed to lasso the choir in the corral to come sing at our meetings. So we frequently would have the choir, which was a whole lot more fun than staring at a computer screen tonight. I hate to say it, but I look forward to seeing you all in person again on that note. But he would frequently corral the choir to come in and do little performances. So just a remarkable man, a great teacher, dad, grandpa, all that good stuff. Service tomorrow, just so everyone's aware, we will have some of our folks from Shays. We'll have a fire truck or two, some police cars there to kind of send him off. So thoughts and prayers with their family. And on that note, there's the dinner bell. All right. Thanks, everybody. I think I just need a motion to adjourn.
This is Joe Reeser. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Patricia Wilkins, I'll second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. Roll call.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. Have a wonderful night, everybody.